Hi everybody, David Frangione, Modern Drummer CEO, and this is a big day because I'm sitting behind Alex Van Halen's 2012 tour kit, complete. We got it directly from Alex, and this year Alex is honored to be a Modern Drummer Hall of Fame inductee. The 2023 Readers Poll Modern Drummer has put Alex Van Halen into the Hall of Fame, and it's just absolutely awesome. We're so excited. So to celebrate this, we brought this drum kit to IronShore Studios in Grand Cayman. And we asked Ray Luzier, Jay Weinberg, and Mike Portnoy to come down and pay tribute to Alex, playing this kit, honoring his Hall of Fame induction, and the inspiration that he's had on their drumming and careers their entire lives. So we can't wait for you to see these videos. Check them out. Alex Van Halen, congratulations, Modern Drummer Hall of Fame inductee. And wait till you see these guys play on these videos paying tribute to Alex. We're so excited. These are very special. Enjoy.
Conductor don't like it, says you're wasting your time. But everybody wants some. I want some too. Everybody wants some. Baby, how about you? Oh, yeah, yeah. I see a boobo lad looking for a movie.
David Frangione, CEO, Modern Drummer. We're here live from IronShore. I'm here with my dear friend, Slipknot drummer Jay Weinberg, and we are here to celebrate and pay tribute to a rock icon who is the 2023 Modern Drummer Readers Poll Hall of Fame inductee, Alex Van Halen. Welcome, Jay.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. And we're sitting here at Alex's 2012 tour kit.
Here we are.
Which Frangione Foundation Modern Drummer Hall of Fame got from Alex directly. So it is a one-of-one tour kit that John Douglas designed for Alex, and Alex played on the tour. So we're going to get into Alex's influence and his impact on your life, career. What do you think of the Alex Van Halen drum kit so far? I know it's kind of uniquely Alex.
It's wild. I mean, it's always an interesting experience that, I think a lot of drummers can relate, of like sitting down at someone else's kit and being like, wow, this is all totally different. Our good friend Ray Luzier from Korn, I'll like sit on Ray's kit. I'm like, I have no idea how a human even approaches playing a kit like this, but it works, and that's our unique way of just like our construction and how our bodies flow and how we're best able to deliver impact or whatever. So to be sat here with these monstrous 26-inch kick drums and everything, it's a different animal. But what's so cool is that it really highlights kind of the lineage of where drum sets such as this really started to become come into prominence in the time of early Van Halen, and people being inspired by big double bass drums and lots of toms and all this stuff that's like wild and crazy and so many
very visual.
Yeah, it is, and it has that impact of like what the music is doing, and I found that to be kind of interesting, of like just the art form in general, of like, beyond crafting songs and albums and dedicating yourself to that, there's a lot of just like what you're doing and how you want to present your craft to the world. Seeing it in its form of like where drummers before me have taken their artistic vision, brought it to life in a kit such as this, and how that's evolved to them where, when I started putting together my own stuff and being inspired by other drummers who have, similar giant kits and stuff, it's a call to arms and a challenge almost for me to be like, how do I find my own voice in that context of something like this? So, drums that I play on tour are certainly different yet influenced by, you know, what began decades ago. So it's very cool and an honor to be sat at Alex's kit here like this, because it's a reminder of the lineage, and, you know, to pay respect to, like you said, an icon such as Alex, and such a well-deserved recognition in the Modern Drummer Hall of Fame. I mean, my hat's off to Alex. It's a great accomplishment, and we're here to celebrate it.
Yeah, man, we really are. And Alex, you know, I saw Van Halen live many times, from early days, Van Halen 2, and, you know, through all the different iterations, and right up till the last tour, 2015. Have you seen Van Halen live?
Yeah, well, you mentioned the last tour in 2015. We had the good luck to cross paths in Toronto, where we played the same venue 2 back-to-back nights.
The Rogers Center.
No, what's the outdoor? It's the outdoor venue in Toronto on the waterfront. I forget the name of it, but it's an awesome place that we've played a couple times. But we were fortunate to have a night off, and we got to come and see Van Halen play the venue that we then played the next night. And so it was a really cool experience to. You know, I think when you're on tour and you're so just like laser dialed in on and focused on what you're doing, you often kind of lose sight of the whole ecosystem of music around you, unless you have the good fortune of, you know, we have a night off in a cool city, and there's a rad band playing in town. Let's go to the Van Halen show and stuff. So it helps you zoom out and not be so, you know, self-centered and focused on what you're doing, and you get to kind of break out of that a little bit, and to see a band play the venue that we were then playing the next night, and see Van Halen on that tour was a really cool moment for sure.
Awesome. And ends up being their last tour.
Yeah.
And you heard Alex play a lot of the iconic Van Halen songs.
Yeah.
So talking about the kit, right, for a second, going back to that. So when you're seeing Van Halen in videos and just seeing kind of what Alex is playing and seeing it evolve over the years, how does it impact drum kits and drumming, right? Because there's two really hardcore philosophies with drummers, I found, right? It's kind of one extreme or the other. When we show pictures of this drum kit, we have responses from drummers that are so polarized, right? Like one group of guys, and it's all mixed in the comments, right? One group of guys is like, thank God the big kit era is over. We can't stand big kits. Like, they're so Buddy Rich, you know, small kit focused. Yeah. And then you got the other group of people that just can't get enough, and that they're just basking in the enormity and the grandiosity and just the whole thing about it. Yeah. And how do you see when you look back at what Alex influenced, the two kicks in front of each other? He was kind of the first guy to do that with the hoses, and a lot of it obviously was visual, even though it added volume. It was really mostly a visual cue, I think.
It's an artistic statement, sure.
Yeah, it's an artistic statement, very visual, very personality to Van Halen, and the kits evolved over the years. So what's kind of your reflection on that when we kind of look at Alex's and like type kits impact?
Sure. Well, I think, first and foremost, like whether it's Alex or any other drummer, what will speak to me, to kind of taking in what another drummer is doing and what I'm watching, is the authenticity of what they're putting out, and kind of their, like we said, like their artistic vision, the artistic statement. What are they all about? I think his approach to a kit such as this and the other ones that he's had, he's had many famous, iconic
the Octobans out
sure,
front,
yeah,
and just very different,
yeah.
Right?
That's all a part of his approach, how he sees his art and his music, and it's genuine to him. It would be another thing if I then did that. It's like that might not be genuine to where I'm coming from. But I think that's what makes being a fan of music interesting and a fan of drummers interesting, is that we have something like this to behold, and I respect that as Alex's way of carving out his lane as it is in drumming and music. I think it's really cool. When you see a kit such as this, you immediately think Alex Van Halen. That's no matter what side you mention the spectrum of being like totally against it or totally embracing of it, whatever end of the spectrum you fall on, it's undeniable that the association is there, and there's something in that. There's something in the impression that's made upon us. You know, how is a kit such as this not impactful on a young drummer? You know, I think so for myself. When I was young and getting into music and you know, starting to focus on the drums, obviously, you know, with a father who's a drummer, I have this proximity to the craft that I was I didn't really start putting it together until maybe I was at, you know, 9 or 10 years old or something, when the E Street Band got back together, and now I'm seeing it on this level, because I didn't have that much informing me. I wasn't staying up till midnight to watch the Conan O'Brien show, so I didn't really know. But then all of a sudden, when I start seeing, I'm like, that's my dad playing on drum sets, and now I'm like watching other drummers. And then, of course, when I, you know, started getting into my teenage years, starting to find what I would more consider like my music, you know, music that really came to me as an individual, didn't come from, you know, as a hand-me-down from my parents or something like that.
And who would some of that include?
Oh, sure. I mean, what comes to mind is like the Ramones, or maybe people who were like in their early 20s starting like punk and hardcore and you know, metal bands, who felt like they were more connected to where I was at just as a person, and like the music they were making was affecting me. Drummers like Brandon Steineckert, who was the founding drummer of the band The Used. Watching him play was hugely impactful for me, because he took things that were familiar to me, say the Clash, the Ramones. You know, my favorite band growing up, like when I was like 5, was the Who.
And Keith Moon, who?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, having that exposure, and, you know, that's another great example of like iconic, very impactful, you know, using the drums as an artistic tool, not just things to hit on, but a way to present your personality. You know, you know, you don't even need Keith himself to then like marvel at his drum set and be like, that's Keith, you know? Yeah. That's such a cool accomplishment. And I think there is a lot to be said for the like intent and attention to detail in that. But so anyway, that's all to illustrate like getting into you know, British rock bands and then punk bands, you know, the Sex Pistols and the Clash and whatever. Then you get into the New York stuff with the Ramones and Blondie and whatever, all the stuff that happening at CBGB's. That all suddenly became like lore to me, obviously because it was from before I was born. But then I started to connect it where I'm seeing a guy in this band who are like a newer band, but he's wearing a Clash shirt. And I'm like, there's something here in the presentation of like, he's a punk rocker, but he's playing this new weird sound that's exciting to me and whatever. So that led me on that kind of journey of finding what I loved about the instrument, what I loved about these like subgenres of music as a whole. What really made a beeline for my heart was, you know, it was impressive to see larger than life bands that, you know, you're like Kiss and whatever. That's like incredibly impressive. But I never had a moment where I was looking at that where I was like, I could do that. I want to do that. Like it all seemed like they were aliens from another universe where you're like, how does anybody do that? I can't see my own self reflected in that. Punk rock did that for me, where it reflected back to me like I saw work ethic in it. I saw, for lack of a better way of saying it, like a low barrier to entry, where it didn't seem like these guys were, you know, crazy.
Overproduced, hotty-totty. It was like much more down to earth, if you will.
Yes, yeah, and it was more about your commitment to just getting this energy out rather than like being kind of holed up in your basement and becoming incredibly technically proficient before you're even allowed, you know, like allowed to go do it. It's like, I can just pick up a guitar or I could pick up drumsticks and just go and do it. That's what really made an impact on me as a young person. And then that led me to finding my own subculture in where I grew up, and like, you know, punk rock shows happening at VFW halls that people who were not that much older than me were setting up for themselves, and you could do it all yourself. And all of a sudden, it took what originally music was like this larger than life, huge, unattainable thing. All of a sudden, I'm like, the guy from math class is booking his own shows. Like, I could do that. And so that gave me a lot of inspiration.
It was accessibility.
Yes.
Right? It just felt like it's like something's possible that you're passionate about.
Yep. So as we relate that to like the construction of drum sets and the choices, the artistic choices that are made as you're putting together a beautiful kit such as this, you know, there are many schools of thought of like economy of just, I think my dad, maybe some of his bandmates are like, you only need one rack tom and one floor tom. What else are you gonna do? You know, I've had them kind of look at my set like, what are you doing with 3 rack toms and 2 floor toms? Like, it's just a different way of approaching it.
And the music that you're playing.
Well, of course,
right?
we know why, and
Right.
it's like there is utility in it. It's not just flashy. But I think those, whether it's a compact kit, if you are following that traditional Buddy Rich or Ringo kind of trajectory of that economy, where there is something to be said about like doing a lot with little, but then there is also something to be said about the artistic choice to really expand, and there are really, Terry Bozzio's massive work of art is like that. There's something to that. It's a huge artistic statement where he utilizes all of it, and to be able to crack open the possibilities with that, and that's kind of incredible. But it all comes to the authenticity of it, and to me, that's like just the most important thing. Is if you're making the choice of whatever your tools are, like they are all tools. Like it's nothing that just because you can sit down in a kit here, me playing this kit, I'm not going to sound like Alex Van Halen. This is his tool, and if I can play around on this, on these tools, it's not going to come across like him. And I find that interesting. Like no matter whose drums you sit down to, but it's because it was an authentic representation of his artistic choices he's making. I think that comes across as true. So I think then it really opens up all the possibilities. It's like there shouldn't be any rules of big kits all the time, or there shouldn't be any rules of no big kits ever. It's like whatever's authentic to you, just do. Like this is what punk rock taught me, is just like do what you want. Like who cares? Just as long as it's authentic and it's coming from your heart, it will ring true. And that's like what's wrong with that?
Yeah, no, everything's right about it. And when we look back at contrasting styles like Ringo with his small kit and Keith Moon with his large kits, and then Keith having these statement kits, Pictures of Lily and the giant white Premier, Concert Tom hybrid kit, and these just iconic kits. Each of them are authentically what that drummer, wanted to say, and how they wanted to, present their kit, and and it was very, very, very authentic. Absolutely. And as we look at that evolve, then you have Carl Palmer and Neil Peart and these drum kit, evolutions that occur 70s into 80s and forward. And those were all uniquely and very artistically authentic. Just
totally.
You look at Neil's creations over the years. Also, Neil, of course, a Modern Drummer Hall of Fame award winner. It's just it's as much a study of the drum kits in his case as it was the drumming, because it was such an integral part of how he wanted to, create and share his art.
Yeah, and to that point, I think it's like seeing a newer generation. Take my generation for example. I was very inspired by what the company SJC Custom Drums were doing, and when I started talking to them, we're about like the same age, myself and Mike Chaparri, the owner of the company. I saw what he was doing as leading the charge of that innovation and artistic statements. We're doing things that weren't being done, and really seeing a kit as a whole, a playground for lots of artistic choices to be made. One that was amazing is our friend who I spoke about, Brandon Steinecker from the Used, and now he's been in Rancid for 20 years. What's wild, he came up with this idea. He wanted to do a drum set based on his favorite TV show, Dexter, about the serial killer, and he wrapped his victims in saran wrap and stuff. And he came to Mike from SJC with this idea like, I want to make a drum set based on Dexter. Mike then internalized that and figured out what choices can we make in the construction of the drum set. Let's do a clear acrylic that's kind of wavy, like it is that saran wrap, and the badges are going to be the meat cleavers he uses, and it's going to have blood splatter and all this stuff. And when I saw that kit, I had never seen an SJC kit like that. And I was like, I have to find out what this whole thing is about, what these guys are making. And so that was my introduction to SJC. Wow. And since then, you know, they've worked with not just myself, but other awesome drummers. Josh Dunn from 21 Pilots, having a signature drum set that's very much his, that it's like, you know, it's different from what I would play, but it totally matches his artistic statement with what he's doing with his music. Mm-hmm. And then for myself, making, you know, my own artwork and allowing anybody out there to select that artwork and put it around their kit and stuff. It's like, who knows what people are going to be doing 10, 15, 20 years from now in the invention with what all the possibilities of drum set creation and construction and custom designs and stuff like that. So it's a very exciting time to be a drummer.
It is. And the evolution of drum kits and how companies like SJC are leading the charge on being able to customize, like guitarists have been able to do forever, right?
Yeah.
You know, and
it's about time.
Yeah, it's about time, man. Drummers unite. Yeah. So Jay, Alex Van Halen, what's a memory you have that impacted your drumming and life from Alex and Van Halen?
Well, I have one, it's like a core memory from my childhood that I always, like, I'll find myself daydreaming about it. So I grew up in New Jersey, a big ice hockey fan, right? Big fan of the New Jersey Devils. And when I started becoming a fan in the year 2000, it was like a magical time to be a hockey fan in New Jersey because the team was so good. Now, I was young and impressionable and starting to figure out what I liked about music in general, and you know, kind of shedding off like influences straight up from my family, whether that was the Who, the Beatles, the Stones, and all important stuff to me. But I'm learning about just different sounds, different styles, and the bands I'm getting into, you know, whether it was direct or indirect on their, you know, the influence from a sonic standpoint, Van Halen played a huge role in where they came from. Slipknot certainly comes from that. Now, when I was 10, the New Jersey Devils would skate out, it's very apropos, they would skate out onto the ice to Run In With the Devil. And for me, and this even kind of goes to like how production things were like, you know, I was starting to become aware of that and whatever. You know, when you would be in a packed hockey arena and the energy is just, you know, you can feel the excitement, especially like going into the playoffs when there's high stakes and it's gnarly and you're playing against regional, you know, enemies and stuff. There's like a fervor in the air, right? So all of a sudden when the lights start to dim and you have that crazy sound at the beginning of that sound at the beginning of Running with the Devil, it was so impactful for me as like a 10-year-old to hear that, and you feel like this swarm of aliens is like coming down upon you. And then for the team to skate out onto the ice, you know, it's quite literally running with the devil, you know, running with the devils. It made such an impact on me. And so it's really cool as we were speaking that, you know, the one time that our paths crossed where, I was on tour with Slipknot and we had a chance night to see Van Halen, and to see them play Running with the Devil live was like, it was a tether back to that moment of when I first heard that. In that context, it's like, you know, it's one thing if you were to put on the record and have it be impactful in that way. But for my exposure to Alex's drumming, and it's so tasteful in that song, and to have it be in that like huge impact kind of moment where I feel like the energy in this giant arena is about to explode, and then you have this anthem come on that was like it felt like a call to arms as a fan of this hockey team. That was huge. So, you know, there's really no one way to get introduced to, you know, to an artist or a band or whatever. So that was my introduction. Hey Alex, this is Jay Weinberg here with Dave Frangioni, and we just want to congratulate you on a much deserved, hard, well-earned induction to the Modern Drummer Hall of Fame, class of 2023. You alone, my friend. It's just an honor to be here at IronShore Studios. Congratulating you on your drum set. I hope it's cool if I play it. And just well deserved. And congratulations on this amazing induction. You deserve it.
Congratulations, Alex, from Modern Drummer, myself, the Frangione family, and the millions of fans that you have out there. So maybe we could get you to do the Jay Weinberg version of Running with the Devil?
I will.
Could we convince you to do that?
I'll do my best. If it's cool with Alex and I do it on his kit, I'll do my best.
How cool would that be?
Simple life ain't so simple. When I jumped out on that road, I got no love you'd call